I don't think that what we're seeing in the media with this social voyeurism is anything new, and we certainly shouldn't make the mistake of assuming that the media is about information when it's primarily about entertainment. The modern media is really just an extended form of the local village grapevine, gossip about who's doing what and to whom. There might be some information in there, but mostly it's for entertainment. And entertainment, whether it's music or TV or books or just art, all create an emotional response. Now, as someone who considers himself to be a rational person, I'm uncomfortable to acknowledge just how often I'm at the mercy of my emotions. Rational thought is often just overwhelmed by how I feel about something. In the case of stories about David Cameron's son or John Travolta's son a month or so back, we're given this opportunity to empathise by proxy how we would feel if a child died, even those of us without children of our own. We get this frisson through vicarious viewing of the tragedy, and the more real it is, the stronger a reaction it creates. So the death of a soap character creates less of an impact than the death of the actor playing that soap character. So David Cameron's grief or Jade Goody's terminal illness allow us access to something that is dramatic but doesn't really affect us. And for me, the current pinnacle of this was the national outpouring of grief over Princess Diana's death. A car crash. So it could have been any of us who travel in cars, in which a woman who the previous week had been a national embarrassment is suddenly transformed into a tragic heroine by circumstance. And the media tapped into this well of vicarious grief, and they're still mining it today. The tabloids still run stories about her, and it has nothing to do with Diana the person. She really was not that interesting. It's about merchandising and print space for generating revenue. And our emotions are being manipulated to make us feel the less for losing this so-called national treasure, our people's princess, our Queen of Hearts. And we can read about it, feel a little sad about it, and then go and turn to the colour supplement with a picture of a smiling woman who, strangely enough, looked fairly presentable in a £20,000 frog. And we lap it up. Perhaps it gives us the opportunity to experience something that normally we don't in our day-to-day humdrum lives. We get to wallow in our emotions, and the more intense those emotions, the more alive and stimulated it makes us feel. If you take a look at video games and cinema, the more realistic the gore, the more heightened the emotional response to it. And there is definitely evidence to show that being exploited. Some of the splatter movies and video games take this gore porn to almost cartoon lengths. Fountains of blood gushing from wounds and limb stumps. Ooh, yeah, I think I'll just rewind that bit and watch it again. And as with sex porn, that's the money shot. But it isn't just gore and horror that works this way. There are other feelings that are used to manipulate us as well. We're manipulated into thinking that we're rebelling. The punk rock fashion from the 1970s was launched as being rebellion and anarchy and free thinking and individuality. Millions of teenagers wore outrageous fashion and dyed their hair lurid colours and put safety pins in their noses so that they could assert their individuality, just like all their mates. You use a PC, not a Mac? You're not your own person, are you? Teeny-bop bands gathered together some cute, harmless-looking boys and 100 million prepubescent girls, all desperately in love with their particular band member, swoon at the lyrics in which he tells them he loves them right back. And the money pours in, oceans of it. Now most of this is by and large pretty harmless. Is Jade Goody's death really going to make that much impact on the world? If it wasn't for her racist outburst in the UK's Celebrity Big Brother house, most of the world would be asking Jade who, and most of them probably are anyway. It's just consumer fodder. It keeps the masses entertained and stops them getting bored and restless. And as long as the sheep in the valley have their lush green grass to graze on, they don't look up and see the shearing and slaughterhouses on the hillsides above them. But this manipulation of our emotions has a very dark side. Let's take fear. Religion has been milking this for millennia. Do what I say, or my God will punish you. Give me your stuff, or my God will punish you. Or more accurately, I will punish you. Believe in our God and you won't die. Or more accurately, I won't kill you. Or more accurately still, not yet. Carrot and stick with no basis of real benefit or detriment other than fear for our own safety and our own mortality and that of the people we love. And that's the danger, because if the emotional response is intense enough, it can prevent us from looking deeper, from questioning what it is that we're being told, which is how propaganda works, to control how people feel, to manipulate them into thinking a certain way, so that they can be made to do whatever somebody else wants. And a recent example of this is the film Fitna by Geert Wilders. Now, I found this via Pat Condell's YouTube channel, and when I watched Fitna, I was horrified by these evil Muslims who want to kill us all, how their religion so obviously promotes violence, so any argument that Islam is a peaceful religion, and therefore how any Muslim can claim to be peace-loving, rings rather hollow. I mean, after all, there was quote after quote from the Quran, all of which could be verified independently for authenticity. A litany of kill them, put them to death, they are nothing, those who don't follow Allah must be destroyed, oppress women, kill gay people. And sucker punch clips of Daniel Pearl stonings, hangings, female genital mutilation, the World Trade Center, the London and Madrid bombings, all accompanied by justifying verses from the Quran. And there were graphs and figures too, all showing the rise of Islam in Europe, how Western democracy will be overwhelmed pretty soon by this oppressive and evil regime. It's pretty powerful stuff. Where I think Fitna fails, what stops it from being really effective as propaganda, is that Wilders overdoes the quotes. And about halfway through watching halfway through this sea of verses from the Quran, a little light bulb went on over my head, and I thought I could replace any of those voices from the Quran with the equivalent from the Christian Bible. So why isn't he saying anything about the anti-science, anti-thought, anti-freedom, God-botherer fuckwits and the dangers that are posed by the rise of fundamentalist Christianity? Well, basically he isn't, because this film is nothing more than demonisation of Muslims. And a little more research into Geert Wilders himself reveals what's really driving Fitna, and it has nothing to do with informing us or protecting us from Muslims. But nonetheless, it is a powerful piece of media. The horrifying images overwhelm and distract the rational thought process with a flood of emotion. And of course, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. And one reason that people will watch this film and watch it again and again is because it generates this emotional response. And each time the message gets reinforced. The media's intrusion into people's private grief and tragedy can be judged sickening, but the media is really just giving us what we want. We get to see this real-life soap opera played out and experience an emotional response from the safety of our warm and comfortable, boring lives. People are glued to the TV to see pictures of a downed Turkish aircraft in Holland. They watch with anticipation as the confirmed body count rises. A mobile phone clip of Saddam's execution is a worldwide hit. The camera lingers on the faces of Krista McAuliffe's parents as they watch their daughter's spaceship explode in the Florida sky and realise that their child is almost certainly dead. And the morality of being entertained by other people's suffering, or even that of animals, is something that we should find questionable. That another creature's pain is something we want should give us pause for reflection and perhaps make us feel a bit ashamed. As for propaganda, I have an awful suspicion that people enjoy propaganda too. That most of them like to be told what to think and what to do without really being told why, or at least without being given more than the most superficial of reasons. It's almost as if people don't want to have to think for themselves, and they're happy just to be told that they're right and what they're doing is right. If you can appeal to someone's gut, then pretty much you have them. And that shouldn't only be making us feel ashamed, it should be making us very, very scared.